Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, February 5th, 2017. I just woke up from this really bizarre dream that Gloria and Jack slept together. Oh wait, that actually happened. That actually happened, you guys. I wish that I could have had a time-lapse video of my face just throughout the course of this week reacting to the whole Jack and Gloria situation, because it started out as, oh, it's kind of nice to see Jack and Gloria commiserating and maybe putting their history aside and sharing a drink at the bar, and then of course it started transitioning into, this is they're getting a little close for comfort here, to full on my mouth hanging wide open, my eyes practically bugging out of my head when they woke up the next day having had sex with each other. They're waking up in bed realizing what happened the night before, and as if that wasn't enough, I started getting sad as the week went on, and now it took a twist that I wasn't expecting at all. And I mean, Gloria feeling like a victim and wanting to have a complete revenge on Jack. It was like that whole story for the week absolutely blew my mind. It started out so innocently in a way. Both Gloria and Jack were not happy with how the Fenmore's deal went down. Nobody got exactly what they wanted, and so they were kind of connecting a little bit at the bar, playing drinking games. I don't even know what the game was that they were playing. Does anybody know? I'm sure somebody out there knows. I was guessing maybe they had to remember a series of drinks that were ordered at the bar. I don't know what that drinking game was, but it was kind of funny watching these two people playing off against one another, knowing how much history there is between them, and then laughing at each other and throwing back the shots, and Gloria getting up, looking for her purse, realizing it's on her, falling into Jack's arms. That scene where she just collapses into him. He's looking down into her eyes, and it's all way too close for comfort. I'm thinking, are they almost gonna kiss here? I mean, that was such a great moment because it was so unexpected, and both of the actors are so good. You've got to give it to Peter Bergman and to Judith Chapman. They made that whole thing fun, and even it was fun in the fact that it was awkward. The fact that they both woke up next to each other, confused, followed by the looks on their faces of just being horrified. They were both horrified that they would in some ways stoop to sleeping with one another. I could not believe what was happening on my screen. I really truly do wish that that you could have seen my face, because I think it was at Mondays and Tuesdays show. My mouth was literally just hanging open while I'm watching the both of them going through with this, and how dirty they felt, and that they can't believe they would do this. And neither one of them wanting the word to get out about what happened, because in a way it seemed like I would have expected, I guess, for Gloria to be more like, yeah, Jack, I mean, yeah, you liked it, didn't ya? But they were both horrified that it happened. I loved the line where they were making a pact to not tell anyone that they had slept together, and Gloria said something to Jack like, if you ever look at me again the way you looked at me last night. Like, she was chastising him for seeing her as a sexual object, where I would have guessed that maybe Gloria would have appreciated that. But I on the other hand, I don't know what kind of wild man Jack Abbott is in the bedroom. I don't know what kind of wild sex they ended up having, but she made a comment about having bite marks on her neck. I'm dying at this point in the story. Absolutely dying at the idea of these two just going at it, and Jack just, I don't know what kind of on earth? What on earth must have been going through Jack Abbott's mind where he's biting on Gloria? Oh my gosh. I mean, I can't erase the image from my mind in a way. And yet at the same time, I kind of don't want to. It was fun. To me, it was fun at that point, of course. But then, you know, as it evolved, you're realizing that Jack just slept with his father's wife again. He even jokingly called her mom. I think that the dialogue between those two was really, really fun and believable. But not to mention the fact that this is a huge betrayal, not just of John Abbott and of Jack's own morals, but it's kind of a betrayal of the Abbott Winters Foundation. Jack is the head of a foundation that helps people recover from addiction, and he is in that position because he's someone who has suffered from addiction issues himself. Specifically, he had a problem recovering from his prescription drug use, but he hasn't had a drink in a long time, and he threw that right out the window in this moment of desperation. And so not only has he betrayed himself and his father, but he's betrayed the foundation, and it's a mess. It is an absolute mess. It seems like Jack Abbott's life is more messy than it has been in a while. It's clear that his marriage falling apart has really taken a toll on him, because he's not the same Jack that we've seen for the past year or two. It's really quite a different guy. It is, however, kind of the same Gloria that we're used to seeing. The next day, after they slept together, I think it was the next day, she goes to Jack's office and she wants to talk to him. She feels that she needs to reinforce how much she helped him make the Fenmore's deal. Even if it didn't go exactly the way Jack wanted it to, Gloria still feels like she contributed to him getting what he did get, and now she feels owed. She delivered on her part of the deal, and Jack is reneging now. He is refusing to follow through with giving her anything, even crumbs. And when she goes to visit him, she turns it into this insane woman scorned vibe. I mean, she literally looked at him in his face and said, "I will not be ignored, Jack." Has Jack ever seen a movie in his lifetime? Those are words that every man needs to pay serious attention to. If a woman ever says to you, "I will not be ignored," you need to listen up, because Gloria, above all people, could be a bunny boiler. Oh man, that was an intense, she was really letting him have it. And I guess in a way I was a little surprised that she felt so scorned. I mean, she really took the whole thing personally, and she really turned, and I guess she really incorporated the whole sexual act into it too. And in a way, I feel sorry for Gloria somehow. Maybe it's just me, because I remember her character from the past, and I think about the things that she's been through. I think that Gloria is a woman who is always behind the 8 ball. It feels like even when she almost wins, she loses. That just seems to be the pattern of her life. She can never really hang on to anything good for very long. The one time that she did have something good, her marriage to John, someone she really, truly, genuinely loved, and loved her in a pure way, it got ripped away from her when he died, and Jack tried to steal her inheritance from her, which she probably would have blown. If she would have kept John's money, she probably would have blown it. But because this is a woman who loses perpetually. She gets desperate then when she loses, and she does something dirty and underhanded, like going to GC Buzz with this whole falsified story. Clarissa, explains it all. She goes on GC Buzz and does this veiled story. She tells this veiled story of her ordeal with Jack, and it has just this tiny little kernel of truth in it. She starts sort of telling the story, as if she tells the story in a truthful way, sort of, with a spin on it at first, and then she really spins it into a complete and total lie to make herself look like she was victimized by this ruthless poonhound CEO of Jabot Cosmetics named Jack Abbott. I mean, she really makes it seem like Jack preyed on her and she was just the fawn who shamefully went away along with it. It was an incredible performance, both from the actress and by the character. I mean, Gloria going on TV and acting like she was the victim. She was kind of looking down, and she, with her glances, and you could see on her face that she was trying to portray innocent and ashamed of herself, when it was all completely calculated for revenge against Jack. That was the big story of the week for me, let me tell you. Next week, though, it looks like from the preview on Monday, that Jack is going to end up reaping Gloria's wrath in a very public way. This story is going to get out to everyone. Not only are they're going to think about what people are going to think of Jack and the fact that he was, supposedly sexually harassed Gloria, but everything that's gone down with the foundation. He's going to look like a recovering addict at the head of a foundation who can't keep his own sobriety. It's going to be a major blow up, a major problem for Jack. He was worried about the papers telling the story of him losing the deal of Fenmore's to Eric Forrester. Well, don't worry about that, because you're going to have something much, much bigger to deal with next week, Jack. I just don't understand why he didn't give her a job. Why didn't he just give Gloria what she was asking for? That's all she was asking for. She wasn't asking for a cash payment. She wasn't asking for shares of the company. She was just asking for a freaking job. This is such a little thing, but it really, really bugs me. Lauren's last name is Fenmore, but the chain of department stores is, and has always been, I'm pretty sure, Fenmore's. So why does Jack keep calling her company Fenmore? It's such a stupid little thing, but when he calls it Fenmore instead of Fenmore's, it really gets up under my skin. He was doing it last week, and he's doing it this week. He needs to get it together. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that the department store is Fenmore. So get it right, Jack. At least know what the name of the company is that you're fighting so hard to get. I don't know. But here's the thing. Look, I never took to the storyline that Jill and Lauren were long-lost sisters, let alone the fact that Jill owns half of Fenmore's. But since that's the case, honestly, I do feel like Lauren was both morally and legally obligated to run this whole deal by Jill. She should have talked to her. I understand where Lauren is coming from, but it doesn't really matter ultimately that Jill is a hands-off owner of the company. She is still an owner of the company, and she still would have a right to approve a sale of almost half of what is apparently her family company. And furthermore, I do feel, I hadn't thought about it this way, but I do feel that it is kind of surprising that Lauren wouldn't have gone to Jill to ask her for the investment. I mean, I'm surprised that Lauren would rather sell off half of Fenmore's, or nearly half of Fenmore's, rather than make it a subsidiary of Chancellor Industries? And why would it have to be a subsidiary of Chancellor Industries? Why couldn't Lauren have worked out a deal with Jill independently? Like, if Jill has the cash, then why couldn't they have just worked it out to let Jill buy out some additional shares, or I don't know, just rescue it because it's her family company? It's weird to me that Lauren would rather sell than keep it in the family. Then again, she didn't even tell her husband that she was in financial trouble with the company, but now we are where we are. Jill feels she's found out about the deal, and she is cut out. She feels cut out, rightfully so. Her family's company was sold 49% to Jack, so now both her role and her financial stake in the company have been minimized further without any consultation with her. So I think it's kind of natural that she would be upset, and knowing Jill, she's not just going to take it lying down. She wants to take action. She is consulting with a lawyer. She wants to do something to get the company back. I mean, all week she was trying to figure out what she was going to do. All week, Colin was trying to convince her not to do anything. I don't know what's up with Colin. I'm just not sure. He's taking secret phone calls off in the corner, which is kind of what Colin does. He's always sort of off in the corner saying, yeah, I'll get you the money somehow. That's how he is. That's how he operates. I'm wondering if maybe Colin spent some of Jill's money, or he intends to spend some of Jill's money and she just doesn't know it yet. I kept thinking he didn't want her to go into her accounts to draw out money to buy out Fenmore's or to hire lawyers or to do anything so that she wouldn't find out that it's not there. I don't know if that's the case. That's just kind of my guess. I mean, he's just, this is always what he does. Is Tristan Rogers staying on for a while? I kind of think maybe Colin might be around at least for a few more episodes, and I really love him. I think he adds some slimy spice to the show. I mean, he is the ultimate slime ball, and I don't believe that he is just out of the goodness of his heart wanting to cruise around the world with Jill so he can spend more time with her. It's obvious that he's got something on the back burner that he doesn't want her to know about. Meanwhile, he's having a conversation midweek with Kane about being okay with having a successful wife who earns more money than you. I don't buy it, because all the while we know he's doing something behind her back, whether it's dirty dealings or not. I'm not sure. At least he's not walking around the mansion flirting with Esther or putting his hand up her dress or something terrible like that. Did you guys notice that Esther has she's back at the mansion and she's taking coats, probably preparing some meals, opening some doors. It's good to have her back there where she rightfully belongs, but she has now an updated uniform. Did you guys notice that her little outfit, now there's no hat, she had on a headband instead. She had her hair down instead of hair up inside of that weird little hat thing, and the uniform had a different collar on it. So I think we're finally bringing Esther's French-made uniform into the 21st century. All right. Jill's big plan now, in order to get her shares and her stake of Fenmore's back, is to sell Brash and Sassy to free up the money for herself so she can buy out Jack of his 49%. But instead of offering a buyout, a complete and total buyout of Brash and Sassy, she offers to sell it in thirds to Kane and Billy and Victoria. Terrible idea. This makes absolutely no sense to me. Why would you want, I don't know why Billy and or Kane and or Victoria would even consider going along with this deal. Why would you want to own a third of a company with two other people who you really don't trust or get along with? It's clear that these three people don't see eye to eye. Why would they want to have a power struggle of thirds? How does that even break out anyway? How do the percentages work on that? Because last time I checked, 3 does not divide into 100%. So I don't know how that that would even work. I was kind of glad that Victor came in there to talk to Victoria to give her a little bit of real advice. Victoria, just buy the company. Surely of all three of these people, you've got the money to do it. You founded Brash and Sassy, so why don't you buy it and you run it and you can decide what goes on there. And she built this company from the ground up, for crying out loud. Victor had to remind her of that. Do the writers know that we love that line? Do they intentionally write that line into the script whenever there's an opportunity to talk about building a company from the ground up or building something, anything from the ground up? Do they know it? And do they throw it into the script to kind of toy with us and to get us to talk about it? I'm not sure if it's accidental or if it's on purpose, but I love it. Thank you. Oh my goodness. The thing is, another benefit for Victoria is if she would just buy Brash and Sassy outright, then she could boss around Billy all she wants, which is clearly her favorite hobby. Victoria loves to boss around Billy. I think she likes the control, and in a way, I wonder if Billy kind of wants that. There's a little bit of a domination thing going on there. I wonder if Billy likes being told that he's a bad boy by Victoria, because she's kind of motherly and kind of stern, and he's the bad boy. Maybe he's got a school teacher thing, like a fetish or something, I don't know. But here's the other thing that I have to throw out there to you guys this week, because all week I felt like, and honestly for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I feel like Y&R is telling us that we're supposed to want Billy and Victoria back together, and I'm not feeling it. I don't know why. I think partly I'm still not over Travis. Which is a ridiculous reason, but part of me's still not over Travis, but the other part of me just doesn't trust Billy. I just don't trust Billy. He is unstable, and I always look at characters through a lens of whether or not I would want to be involved with them in my life, and I've said 100 times that Billy may be charming, but I would never want to date him. I would never want to marry him. He was, always will be a lovable screw up. And personally, I'll pass on that. I will just pass. Case in point, Victoria is riding Billy's ass all week, which, yes, is annoying. That's what she does. She acts like, and he feels like, nothing he ever does will be right. But what does he do? He runs off mad at Victoria for riding his ass, and he kisses Phyllis passionately and impulsively in the elevator. I mean, this is who Billy is. This is what he does? It makes no sense to me. Or I can't relate to it because I'm not that impulsive, I suppose. But I don't know, maybe you guys are. I want to know what the pulse of the Y&R chatters is on the situation with Billy's, romance here. Are you wanting to see him with Victoria? Or are you maybe wanting to see him back with Phyllis? I think that has to be our poll question for this week. Would you rather see Billy in a relationship with Victoria or with Phyllis? Let me know. YRChat.com. I want to see how the votes come down on Billy and Phyllis versus Billy and Victoria, and I would love to see some comments on either side of this, because I just, for me, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would say of those two, I would almost rather see him with Phyllis, because that's a storyline that feels like it never really got resolved. It was brought up to a major boil and then it never really got resolved. But at the same time, I keep expecting that we're going to see Phyllis with either Jack or with Nick at this point. I was really, really taken back by the kiss, although I don't think Phyllis was in for it. I mean, she kissed back, because who wouldn't, right? I mean, if you're gonna get passionately kissed by someone who you do find attractive, at least you could go with it for a minute or two. But Phyllis, I kind of am gonna guess that on Monday when we come back to the scene, I feel like she's gonna pull away and maybe smack him or something. I don't know that. That's just entirely a guess. But part of me just thinks I'd almost rather see them together. I don't know. Then again, we could be setting up a Victoria, Billy, Phyllis triangle. Victoria was particularly bitchy to Phyllis this week, which maybe is a telltale sign, I don't know. She got really uptight about the fact that Phyllis made a comment that indicated to Victoria that Billy had told Phyllis about the situation with Reed, or that, that Victoria was struggling a little bit with raising a teenage boy, and Phyllis was just trying to be nice. She was just trying to say, hey, I know how that can be. I had a teenage son too. So she was just kind of trying to do a mom-to-mom bond thing, I think, there with Victoria, and Victoria smacked it down really quick. And in Victoria's defense, I can see where she would be ticked off or at getting the feeling that Billy was talking about her personal life to a woman that he had a very public and scandalous affair with. It's just another example of Billy going off and doing his Billy thing and being his irresponsible Billy self, and Victoria being her staunch, very conservative self. And in Billy's defense, and Phyllis made this point, his heart was in the right place. Billy, he's trying to help in the best way that he knows how to help, and he's just being himself. I think that with Billy, you kind of have no choice but to take the good with the bad, because Billy was really good this week when it came to Victoria and Reed and mending the fence over what happened last week with Victoria walking in on Reed and the girl and embarrassing him in front of the girl. And it was something that Victoria didn't really understand. She said, I reacted the way any mom would react at walking in on their teenage son making out with a girl on the couch. But she didn't really consider it from Reed's perspective, which is the source of a lot of her problems, I think. And Billy did a really good job of trying to soften that a little bit, and it worked. It certainly did work, because a meme of Victoria erupted. It could have been a very bad situation, but the girl that Reed was making out with on the couch created a meme photo of Reed. There was a photo of Reed and Victoria, which she photoshopped into making it look like Victoria's skin was all green, and it said on the meme something like it was turn back, or I would turn back if I were you. It was a scene or a line from The Wizard of Oz, and the implication was that Victoria was the Wicked Witch of Orchard Road, and it didn't go over very well. I think probably the girl and maybe her little friends thought it was hilarious, but Reed didn't appreciate it. He didn't like this girl making fun of his mom, and he took it personally too. It's something that he didn't want to be known for, and Victoria certainly didn't like it, didn't want to be seen that way. I laughed when Billy showed it to her. I mean, he's always so funny. He says, you gotta appreciate the classics here. This is another Wizard of Oz reference, of which we've had many on Y&R, but he shows that to her and then tries to explain it and tries to tell Victoria that she embarrassed Reed, and that if she's, it's not easy to deal with the kid, but at the same time you have to, or it's not easy to deal with a teenager, but at the same time you need to be careful, because there's a very real possibility that Reed could run. He showed that he will do that when he ran from JT, and you don't want that to happen again. You want Reed to be able to feel comfortable coming to you or coming to me or coming wherever he needs to. And I really liked that Victoria took a step back, thought about it this week, and she did admit that, I think this was a point that Sandra, a Y&R chatter, made last week, saying that, Victoria manages Reed more like a business than like a person. And she admitted that this week, and also opened up saying that she has younger kids and they thrive on a schedule, and she's a very regimented individual. I can identify, with that. I think that younger kids probably do well on a schedule, and Reed becoming more independent is really more of a curveball for her. So she tries to come around, tries to connect with him. She is able to score him some concert tickets. She takes him to a concert in Chicago. She's out all night. They're rocking and rolling, and it seemed like they had a really good bonding moment. And the week ended, or this these scenes ended this week with Reed and Victoria kind of having a nice understanding of one another, and you think everything's gonna be cool, and then we get the preview of Monday's show where all of the goodwill they have managed to muster for this week will be thrown out the window next week as Reed's internet porning comes back to haunt him. Oh, those naughty nymphs. Victoria is going to find that on her credit card bill. Ooh. It's a good thing that he was looking up naughty nymphs and not naughty milfs who like to dance on bar tops at EDM parties. Genoa City had their, I'm gonna assume first, EDM party at the Underground with DJ Spectral X. Oh man, yeah, so Monday's show, there was, at the Underground, there was a lot of neon colors, there was a lot of fake dyed fur. I believe I even saw kitty ears, a hat that looked like kitty ears, some glow sticks. Yeah, the EDM party was a little cringeworthy, I'm not gonna lie. And there was just something about it that was trying a little too hard. I hate to say that because I like that Y&R is trying new things, but I felt embarrassed a little bit. Just like Y&R is like Victoria in that moment or something. It was just trying a little too hard to be hip and modern, and it just didn't. I don't think they pulled it off very well. I'm really sorry. It was a little cringeworthy, but oh gosh, Lauren dancing on the bar was borderline embarrassing for me to watch. Don't get me wrong, because I think that Lauren is a total smoke bomb. I mean, Lauren is probably the sexiest woman on the show. Not trying to take that away from her, but dancing on the bar is like slutty. It was, you know, I mean, they're sexy and then you accidentally cross that line over into Slutville, and it was that for me. I'm sorry. I kind of felt like Ashley was having a MILF moment there too. Just dancing away and just trying to, I felt like they were all trying to prove that they were cool. And it came off as not cool, but I did like that Ashley showed up for Ravi after they were gonna have a late night at the office, order some hot and spicy takeout, which obviously was very hot and spicy for Ravi. He was feeling it. She's this woman, come on. You, Ashley Abbott, you don't know what you're doing to this poor little kid. Give me a break. You know exactly what you're doing, girl. And then she comes to the party and shows up for him. I mean, Ravi was so freaking cute in his little neon cuffs, and he's doing his little dance. I watched it twice. It was just so cute. He's looking up at the DJ, pointing at her, and she's pointing at him, and he's just doing his little Ravi. Like, he's such a dork, but he was the coolest one there, frankly. Of all the people there, I think I would have wanted to hang out with Ravi. I mean, he was just really, really cute, and I don't know. I was glad to see that Ashley did show up for him, because he doesn't really have any friends. He doesn't have a girlfriend. And I don't know. I'm kind of living for their little friendship / crush, that this whole thing. I mean, I don't know that there's anything more to it at this point. I'm not sure. Ashley did get real possessive over Ravi this week. Since Fenmore's and Jabot is merged, both companies are now under the Jabot umbrella and in the Jabot building, and Jack has declared that Ravi will also be working on Phyllis's app project for Fenmore's, which takes him away from Ashley's app project for Jabot, and she's really not happy about it. She seemed very possessive of him, like she wanted to be, she wants him all for herself. I mean, I don't know, I don't know that she's falling for him or anything like that. I kind of think that she just likes Ravi as her pet, and she doesn't want to share. That's just my thought. And she certainly doesn't want to share with Phyllis, of all people. Now, Phyllis, I've been kind of predicting this for weeks. I felt like we were moving more toward a Sharon, Phyllis, Nick sort of triangle, and maybe Y&R's just testing the waters, but at the EDM party we had that little scene between Phyllis and Nick where he is trying to get her to sign up for a dating app, and I mean it was really funny and it was really cute, but the thing I liked best about it is the implication that Phyllis, who is a tech guru, has no idea how to use a dating app, but Nick Nick, on the other hand, seems to be an expert at using this dating app. Methinks that maybe Nick has been hitting the town, and who knows what else he might have been hitting. Jill made a really good point about Kane and Lily's current predicament. Jill said that she feels Kane's problem with Lily's modeling career is more about it being a shift in the balance of power within their relationship. And last week we asked a poll question, should Kane be concerned about Lily's modeling career? And I'm surprised that it was a 50-50 split. 50% said yes, Lily's his wife, he should absolutely be concerned about her career, and 50% said no way, it's her decision to make. And I only got 2 comments on this poll, and they were on the 2 polar opposite sides, so I thought I'd read them. Tanya says, I vote, of course, no, Kane should not be concerned, because he should respect Lily's choice and be happy for her. She's not a child that can't make her own choice, she's a grown woman. She's his wife, this is her dream. She loves modeling, so she should be able to do what she loves. Plus, I love this story for her, Tanya says. Finally, they're giving her something to do. Now, Shelley on the opposite camp says, I like the way this poll question is worded, Allie. I vote yes, absolutely. Kane should be concerned. Concerned being the focus here. At first glance, it felt as though Y&R was trying to make it seem like the reason Kane had reservations was merely because he didn't want to share his wife with the world. If that were his one and only concern, I'd have no choice but to frown on Kane. However, this particular career change causes an upheaval in both of their lives and impacts their relationship and their family dynamic. Of course, Kane is entitled to have concerns, and he should not be hesitant to express them. They're married, they're a team. I'm not saying that she needs his permission to pursue this change, and I truly do empathize with her excitement, but a 10-second conversation about it before she accepted it is just plain selfish. Wow, I love both of those comments. I think you guys summed it up absolutely perfectly on both sides of the camp. I think, I think it's right in the middle. I think that Tanya is right in saying no, it's Lily's life. She absolutely has a say in it, and it should be respected. But at the same time, Shelley does make the point that I've kind of been really more falling on that side of, in that it is Lily's life, but it's their life together, and it's their marriage, and it is something that deserves to be talked about. And Kane did open up to Lily this week and say that he admits that it was about his business ego being hurt, that he didn't like not being consulted about the fact that she is taking this job. And frankly, in Lily's defense, she gave him an out. She said more than once, I don't have to do it. If you have a problem with it, I will just not accept the job. And I do sense that there is something boiling beneath the surface with Kane. I want to believe that it is more on the business side than it is on the personal side, but it is a change in their life. Lily admitted she realizes there are going to be some bedtimes that she's going to miss. There are going to be some holidays that she's going to miss, such as Valentine's Day, which is not only a romantic holiday, but it's their anniversary. And already, first jump, she is having to make a sacrifice. She is expected to, on Valentine's Day, be present at a launch, to do events, to go out into the public, and it's the first time where she's really put to the test. She has the option of telling Victoria that she doesn't want to do the event, but she ultimately ends up agreeing to it. I can't blame her in a way. Victoria was being a little bitchy to Lily in that scene. I'm sorry, but Victoria, she's playing, the role is being played exactly the way it should be, because from Victoria, I get the same vibe that I've gotten from a lot of executives that I've worked with, looking at her very passive aggressively and saying, I don't want to apply pressure to you, but I'm applying pressure to you. It did seem like Victoria was saying, well, this is what the job is, Lily. I thought Victoria was bitchy in that moment. And Lily does ultimately go along with it. Now, I'm kind of wondering if Kane sees this whole sale of brash and sassy thing as an answer, actually, to both his personal and professional problems. I wonder if Kane feels that if he can buy the company, then he can have more control over it. He can create some more flexibility in Lily's schedule. I mean, I think that like Billy, Kane's heart is in the right place right now, but hey, if Kane has a problem with Lily taking this job without consulting him, how is Lily gonna feel about him selling off all of his assets to buy the company without talking to her? Well, I totally expected Devon to fire Hilary. I expected him to take the first opportunity to let her go as the host of GC Buzz, but instead he decided to hire a co-host and keep Hilary on the air, but put her on the air with Mariah. Now, these two women have a very recent history of being enemies, which is why when Hilary came up with the idea of airing a secret package to welcome Mariah to the air, it was extremely suspicious. I think that the audience thought, Devon thought, everybody thought that Hilary was going to do something underhanded to publicly humiliate Mariah again. And she didn't. It was a total fake out. Hilary took the opportunity to air the footage of Mariah falling, which made you think that it was going to be something bad. And then she took a step back and said, I just want to admit that I contributed to this. I tripped Mariah. I did a bad thing. And not only do I want to welcome her to the show, but I want to bury the hatchet. I want to apologize. Hilary really went out of her way. She probably didn't have to do it in such a public way. I think Mariah would have appreciated more of the behind the scenes, sorry about that whole thing. But Hilary decided to incorporate it into the gossip show and give the audience a little bit of gossip, but also put some of the focus on Mariah, take some of it off of her, and just apologize publicly. I think that this is the beginning of Hilary's redemption story, which I think it's good for me. I mean, I really like the way Hilary is presenting herself right now. It's not a typical redemption story. I like that Hilary isn't going around and begging for forgiveness from Mariah or from Devon or from anyone else. She's really just putting herself out there and saying, take it or leave it. She does this very public apology to Mariah, which made Devon look a little differently toward her. And he really seemed to appreciate it. He had a conversation with Neil, opening up and saying, I feel like I'm supposed to be done with Hilary. I'm supposed to want to be done with her, but I still love her. And therein lies the conflict. There was a really interesting conversation between Hilary and Mariah, where Mariah confronted Hilary after the apology aired and really pressed on her and really put her to task. And Hilary opens up to Mariah and says how she feels, says that she had a realization after Devon's accident that made her just see things in a different way. And at the same time, while Hilary's offering this explanation to Mariah about where she's coming from and what she wants, she's also making clear that she doesn't really care what Mariah thinks. It's kind of a good way to go about it. It's not beggy, you know, it's more mature, I think, in a way. And, you know, rather than Mariah turning it around and deciding to put more pressure right back on Hilary, Mariah admits that she's no angel either, which I know is a long time coming for some of you. I know Shar on YouTube has been making that exact point for 2 or 3 weeks now, or even I think since Hilary tripped Mariah in the first place. Mariah is someone who faked being her mother's dead daughter to gaslight her. It's a horrible, it's far worse than tripping somebody on a national TV program. So it was nice to see that leveling and that acknowledging that neither one of them are angels. And I wonder if now it's time for Devon to see that. It's clear that he's torn. He loves Hilary, but he doesn't trust her. And another thing I appreciated about Hilary this week was that instead of continuing to beg, she said, you know what, if you're determined to think the worst of me, then let's just get it over with. She smacks down divorce papers onto his desk and says, if you don't trust me, sign these. The ball's in your court, Devon. I don't know if he's ultimately going to sign those divorce papers or not. I kind of hope not. I think I want these two to get back together ultimately. Heroines of the week for me, Nikki and Sharon. I really liked the follow-up to everything that went down with Dylan. Nikki and Sharon sat down together. They had a little water, they had a little wine, and we had a lot of surprise tenderness from Nikki. Sharon's in a really bad place. What has transpired with Dylan has absolutely wrecked her. It has left her with a ton of guilt, a ton of unresolved feelings, and it was really surprising to see Nikki come in and offer support and not blame. You would have expected for Nikki to want to lay all of this at Sharon's feet, and instead Nikki took some of that off. It was really nice to see them sitting down and talking and being honest, because Sharon opened up and even went so far as to say, I know this sounds bad, but in a way, if Dylan would have died in the line of duty, it would have been easier for me to handle. I would have had some level of closure, and now instead, I'm just left wondering. Dylan is just somewhere. I'll never know where. I'll never know what he's thinking, and I'll never see him again. And that note of not knowing is going to haunt me. And I really liked that she felt comfortable enough to talk to Nikki about that, and that Nikki didn't jump on her. You would have expected to, for as much as these two women have hated each other. I also liked Paul coming in, and you know, the other thing is that Sharon, she wasn't passive. She didn't, I guess, like Hilary, she didn't say, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, everyone. She was forward about what she was feeling to Nikki and to Paul. She started lashing out to Paul a little bit, saying something to the effect of that he's the one that offered this mission to Dylan in the first place, and that he bears some culpability as well. Paul came back to her, of course, and said, look, Sharon, I think we can assign blame on this situation in any number of ways, but this is what it is. Let's figure out what we need to do, because what we're left with is the unpleasant matter of telling everyone else in Genoa City what happened to Dylan, and it has to be a lie. They can't tell everyone that he's gone into the witness protection program, or it compromises his security. So Paul has come up with a plan to tell people what he thinks would be the most reasonable explanation, that Dylan just simply left Sharon. He just simply decided that he didn't want to be married to her anymore, and he left town. So this is Paul's suggestion, which is a really, really heavy weight for Sharon to carry. Now, in order to protect Dylan, she kind of has to go along with it. Nikki tried jumping in and saying, is there any way that we don't have to put Sharon through this? Which was also surprising, and that I appreciated. But ultimately, it seems to be the most believable answer, and what they can do to protect Dylan the most effectively. So now, Sharon, oh my gosh, she's left with this incredibly heavy burden and an incredibly heavy lie to have to carry. She has to tell this to everyone who knew Dylan. She has to tell it to Noah, to Mariah, who was in tears. She has to tell Nick, who also doesn't understand. Everyone loved Dylan. He was a very well-liked person. So it's difficult for her to have to tell this lie and accept this blame. And for Dylan is someone who's seen very positively, and now she's just taking on more and more negativity, especially from Faith. Sharon telling Faith was really hard to watch. Faith's first reaction was, what? Dylan left to get away from you? What did you do this time? Faith is used to her mother screwing up her relationships and Faith having to deal with the consequences, so that's what she assumes has happened this time. In another surprising move from Nikki, she takes control of the situation and tries to step in and bridge the gap a little bit between Sharon and Faith. She doesn't want Faith to have this negative opinion of her mom. And in fact, Nikki walked up to Sharon after Sharon told Faith and said, "Look, Faith doesn't understand what you just sacrificed for Dylan, but I do." Another just really, really tender moment. I thought those were really good scenes. And then Nikki steps up and starts to try to talk to Faith and explain it to her, which was really risky because Faith was sharpening pencils in a maniacal way, frankly. I was concerned about everyone's safety in that moment, the way Faith was sharpening her pencils silently on the sideline. I mean, seriously, we need to be a little bit concerned here. It's always the quiet, polite ones that turn into wackos. I wouldn't be surprised if Faith turned into a wacko someday. She probably is planning her revenge against this family silently in the corner. Oh, maybe she can take out her aggression with some craft projects though this week. Maybe get some glitter and she can just work it out on paper. She'll create a beautiful work of art that'll sell for millions of dollars. But anywho, Faith decides that Nikki is right. Nikki does a good job of affecting Faith's opinion, and she doesn't want to hurt her mother. She still loves her mother, of course, realizes that she said some hurtful things, and she goes to Sharon, and they have a wonderful reunion moment, which I really did appreciate, because I don't want to see Sharon estranged from her daughter. I don't like the vibe that Faith thinks she's better than Sharon. So I liked that they were able to connect. I mean, look, we all make mistakes. In 2 years, when Faith is 21 years old, she's going to be doing the exact same crap that Sharon's doing now. I've just been feeling a little restless. That was last week's Who Said It quote. It was Lily who said that line in talking to Kane about her new modeling career. I wonder if Y&R has to be very careful to use the word restless, or young for that matter. I don't know, given it's the title of the show. It's such an easy line, you'd think all of the characters could be saying, "I've been feeling a little restless." But you don't want to overuse it. It's a kind of line you can only use every once in a while, which was why I had to pluck it for last week's Who Said It quote. And congratulations to everybody else who caught it. Henry, I think you get it right every week, Henry. Congratulations. Also to Nancy and Toby, Sharita, and Sandra. Well done, you guys. I love these quotes. I just think it's fun to find them and pluck them out. And sometimes in context they make sense, and out of context they don't make sense. I think that might be the case, sort of, with this week's Who Said It quote. You tell me if you know who said this. "You do love my bacon, don't you?" Weird. It's so weird when you pull it out of context. "You do love my bacon, don't you?" If you think you know who said that weirdo line, you can go to yrchat.com, leave your guess, and if you get it right, I will give you your grand congratulations on next week's Y&R Chat. Let's open up our Chatterbox and get to some of your comments. Leslie left a good one here at yrchat.com saying, "I have a hunch that Alex may end up pregnant and come to town in Dylan's absence. This is what will bring back the recasted Dylan, and then she will die and leave Dylan and Sharon to raise her child." That would kind of be interesting, right? Because the big issue between Dylan and Sharon was the fact that she passed off another person's child to make him believe that it was his own. It would be kind of interesting if now she learned that Dylan had a long lost child and then she was there raising it as her own. And I do hope that they recast Dylan ultimately. I would, or if Steve Burton can't come back. I think it's a good character. It's the son of Nikki and Paul. I think it's a role that should be filled, even if it's not right away. I'm fine if they put a year on it, couple years on it, but I think we're not going to see the last of the Dylan character. I don't think we've seen the last of him. Anna left me a voicemail saying, "I hope that Sharon stays on her own for a while and that she doesn't get rushed into a relationship with Nick." I agree with you, Anna. I mean, ultimately, I want to see Nick and Sharon back together. I think they're one of the favorite soap opera couples of all time for me. But I don't like it when characters jump from one relationship to the next lickety split. I want a little bit of mourning time here for Dylan. I think that Nick and Sharon would be really cute raising Christian together for a while, and not only that, but I just think that they're a good couple. I think for nostalgic reasons, in a Victor and Nikki kind of way, I always want Nick and Sharon to get back together, but I'm fine if they want to put a little bit of time on it. Shar at yrchat.com says, I always find it funny how people are quick to believe and are willing to take characters who were once cons, like Chelsea and Mariah, at face value, but everything Hilary does is questioned. Hilary's a flawed character, like most of the other interesting characters on the show. Hilary is rootable for me, like Sharon, because she's constantly the town pariah. I will always give her the benefit of the doubt. Why that's only afforded to certain other characters, I'll never know. Very good point, Shar. And I liked this week that Mariah did acknowledge that she was a con. And of course, I always remember that about Chelsea too. I think it probably is funny. I think we all probably do have our favorite characters, and we pick and choose what we want to remember about them. I like Hilary's character, and I think what you said there that was most poignant is the fact that she's flawed, and that's what makes her interesting. Any of the one-dimensional characters on the show really don't hold your attention for long, and they certainly don't make you want to chat about them. So in my book, I really like Hilary, and I think I'm kind of willing to forgive most of the characters on Y&R at some point. I think I'm rooting for them all in some way or another. Gary left me a voicemail this past week mentioning commenting on the scene between Jack and Gloria, and specifically talking about Judith Chapman. Gary said that in her earlier days, I think you said she was on General Hospital for a little while, but Gary had characterized a young Judith Chapman as being very fetching. And I thought, I think there is something about Gloria right now that comes off as so over the top that it's not sexy at all, and it felt weird to see her in a sexual situation with Jack. And in fact, another thing that Gary had mentioned in his voicemail was that it might be perceived as Jack having sex with an older woman when really they're right at the same age. And I think that maybe Y&R did that on purpose in a way. He called her mom jokingly. There was this sort of like a I slept with my father's wife vibe about it, but in reality, I looked it up. Peter Bergman and Judith Chapman are right around the same age. There's no reason that it has to be disgusting on some level that they slept together. And I think because Gloria is this over-the-top character who I have only known from Y&R, I really don't know anything about her youth, and I have no idea what she looked like when she was younger. So I went out to Google image search, and I started looking up pictures of Judith Chapman, and I pulled up just a couple that I thought were particularly fetching, and I put them on the website at yrchat.com so we could at least, kind of appreciate Judith Chapman throughout her career, and I just wanted to see some beauty shots of her. I wanted to get some Judith Chapman love out there. So thank you, Gary, for sending me on that journey. I really wouldn't have been prompted to do that otherwise, but there's some really beautiful photos of her, and if you want to see them, you can go to the website. Connor at yrchat.com says, I'm personally disappointed in Jack for slipping back to alcohol, but Gloria's false accusation against Jack just ended it for me. How does she think this will affect her? John Abbott must be turning in his grave. It is pretty gross, Connor, that she would do that. That she would go out of her way to create that salacious of a lie. It's very Gloria-esque, ultimately. I don't know why I'm rooting for her. Maybe it's what Shar was saying, that it's a flawed character, and that's what makes you root for him. Yeah, who knows? But at the same time, I get ya. It's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad accusation to throw out there at somebody, and I'm glad I'm not in Jack's shoes next week. Daisy on Facebook said, if Gloria were smart and not vindictive, she would approach Jill and ask her how she can help her. I don't think Jill needs help. She's sneaky herself, but at least Gloria can be another pair of eyes, especially where Colin is concerned. Maybe Gloria can find out what Colin is really up to. I'm glad you said that, Daisy, because I've been kind of thinking for the last couple weeks that I wonder if Y&R would ever do a Jill, Colin, and Gloria triangle. It would be an ideal time for maybe Gloria to get up into Jill's business and find out what's up with Colin. But I was thinking that too all throughout the week. I keep wanting to connect Gloria into Jill somehow, and I was surprised that it went in the direction of GC Buzz, but maybe that's just part one of Gloria's plan. It's certainly possible that she will decide to have a part two and surprise us all. Superplex at yrchat.com says, 8 will get you 10 that Colin, who is in a state of perpetual indebtedness, will somehow get his claws into the cash that Kane will scour out for his share of Brash and Sassy. Do you think so? I keep wondering what the heck Colin is up to. And now that you mention it, Superplex, he did have that conversation with Kane, and it almost seemed like he was angling to find out how much money that Lily was making for the modeling. It was a very money-centered conversation, and we know where Colin is, there will also be debt and a constant scramble to try to get his hands on some cash. So maybe that is gonna happen. Oh, I'm gonna feel bad. Yeah, Kane's gonna end up going broke or something. Something's up. I can't put my finger on it though. If everybody wants to leave some comments about what's going on with Colin this week, and I hope Kane doesn't lose his money, and I certainly hope his father doesn't steal it from him, but who knows? He's gonna do something. Colin is up to something. I gotta still work on brainstorming this to figure out what it is. I haven't put the pieces together yet, personally. T. Nicole at yrchat.com says, I find it ironic how Jill felt angry after being left out of a Fenmore's executive decision with saying how she owns a good chunk of the company and has just as much of a say. Maybe she can now relate to Kane and how he feels being left out of executive decisions at Brash and Sassy. Thank you. Thank you. And Jill was rude to Kane this week. She clearly treats him quite a bit differently than she treats everybody else. And I know he's not her biological son, but she told him to shut up this week. She's just so rude. Billy is such her little pet. You know, she always treats Billy with kid gloves, shall we say. And I can't let that go. I feel like Kane has at least a leg to stand on when it comes to work. They should have consulted him about major initiatives at Brash and Sassy, but I like that you connected that in with Jill. Very, very good. I had to pull this other really good comment from Superplex at yrchat.com. saying, is it possible that Victor's only playing possum right now in order to lure his opponents, in this instance Jack, into a false sense of security and then spring his plot into action? What I'm referring to specifically is the possibility that Ravi is actually Victor's agent and working at Jabot. I like that. I like that a lot. I seem to not want to let go of the fact that Ravi is going to be up to something, and we all damn well know that Victor's got to be up to something someday. He's not going to sit out at the ranch and play chess forever. So it is odd that he's out of the scene right now. I think you make a good point that maybe he's playing possum, and it would be an interesting tie-in if Ravi was in on it. Let's see here. Henry at yrchat.com says, I do believe that something romantic or intimate is brewing between Ravi and Ashley. I say, go for it, Ravi. I don't know. I can't decide if I think, because I keep going back and forth on whether or not I actually do think there's something more going on there this week. I mean, for crying out loud, they had the conversation this week about Ashley's past relationships, her admitting that she likes dominant men, which could also be another tie-in to Victor Newman. If Ravi is working for Victor, that could be something that he would note. But I just don't know. Part of me thinks she just likes having a pet, that it's not necessarily that she wants him. I don't know. Would you guys even want to see Ashley and Ravi as a couple? I wouldn't mind getting some comments on that this week too. T. Nicole at yrchat.com says, I'm trying to figure out Ashley and Ravi's relationship. When she met him at the underground, partly my first thought was, this is inappropriate for a top executive to be dancing around at a club with her employee. She must know or have some idea about Ravi's feelings and crush, and she should be aware of how she's acting around him. I think so too. I think she has to know. She's Ashley Abbott. She didn't just fall off the turnip truck. She certainly knows when a man is interested in her. And it does seem like maybe she's stringing him along to me. I don't know. Well, the jury's still out on that. We'll figure it out. Oh, but I'll end on this. Sandra left me a comment at yrchat.com considering the fact that it's Super Bowl Sunday. Sandra says, Allie, there's a show on last night on TV about Super Bowl commercials. They aired a brand new Buick commercial that will be shown during the Super Bowl. Anyway, guess who's in it? Stitch. He has a small part, and he says, if that's a Buick, then I'm a supermodel. Hey, there you go. I had no idea about that, Sandra. Very appropriate for today, and we'll send out the red alerts for all people who are crossover fans. It seems like a weird two things to be into. I like soap operas and football. But if you happen to be a crossover Y&R and football fan, keep an eye out tonight for our very own Stitch. Oh boy, good week. I think it's a good week. Top story for me is still gonna be Jack and Gloria, and I think that's gonna be what I'm specifically very interested to tune in for next week. Ooh, it's good. Wait, Y&R's just good right now. What can I say? What can you say? How about you guys give me some of your comments? I really specifically love it when you're commenting on the current week's show, because then I can grab those comments and talk about them at the end, and they feel a little bit more relevant to what's happening specifically during this week. You can go to yrchat.com and you can leave your comments while you're watching the show. You can talk to other chatters. You can also, from there, find the YouTube and Facebook pages. However you like to leave me your comments. If you're a voice person, you can call into my voicemail, 309-588-4569. I particularly love listening to those, but I love hearing your thoughts on the show however you want to give them to me, so don't be shy. I will be back next week and we will find out where we are in the bizarre world of Genoa City, Wisconsin. All right, everybody, I love you and I'll see you next week. Bye!